Imagine you're on the last point of breakthrough. Tickets are about to bleed dry. The hot dust from the desert of Firestorm is being kicked up at your face, from fire from every direction, from the high explosive canisters of the Pax Leopard tank to noobs attempting a 1,000 meter headshot from the mountains. All hope seems lost as you feel totally overwhelmed, until the thunderous approach of multiple Bradleys bring the reinforcements and firepower to push through to victory with an overwhelming display of an unstoppable force. Sounds cool, right? Well, that's just the kind of support the real Bradley infantry fighting vehicle brings to the table. In this video, you will learn about the purely awesome history to this armoured carrier, how it delivers devastating firepower, and what it's been used for. Hopefully this could give certain people in Battlefield the inspiration to use it as intended, instead of camping at HQ and using it as an oversized sniper rifle. The Second World War had shown the importance of efficiency in the way soldiers were moved around the battlefield, as it was proven that speed was a key strategy to advance front lines and keep the enemy from reorganizing. The need for vehicles with the necessary capacity as well as the ability to drive on difficult terrain and protect itself became a glaring issue. Normal infantry trucks were just too easily targeted and often would get stuck in poor driving conditions of war-torn Europe and Russia. Future infantry vehicles would begin to use multiple wheels or tracks for better handling on poor terrain and adopt anti-personnel or anti-vehicle weaponry for defense. After the 1950s, major armies such as the Soviets, US and British had developed new armoured personnel carriers or APCs. Examples of these are the M113 for the US and the BTR-60 for the Soviets. Increase in tensions in the Cold War brought with it a fear of nuclear attack. New infantry fighting vehicles were developed with this in mind so that infantry could remain in the vehicle, which was protected from radiation, and still attack from inside the vehicle. The US jumped on this idea, wanting to design a more lethal and effective infantry fighting vehicle than the current M113. They started in 1963 and designated the desired armor vehicle the Mechanized Infantry Combat Vehicle. The US initially took a look at a design from a Pacific car and foundry, but never entered service because it was too heavy to fly on a C-141. Testing of various designs continued until 1972, when the FMC Corporation submitted its XM723 Mechanized Infantry Combat Vehicle design, based on the Amtrak vehicles with laminated steel aluminium armor giving light protection. This was later merged with the Armored Reconnaissance Scout Vehicle, producing the XM2 Infantry Fighting Vehicle and XM3 Cavalry Fighting Vehicle. Some issues plagued progress of the infantry fighting vehicle, a problem with transmission which was sorted by General Electrics, and the controversial decision for a two-man turret as it reduced the squad size from 9 to 7. The TOW missile was welcomed to the prototype, of course not knowing the horrors about to be inflicted on Battlefield 6 pilots around 40 years later. 8 prototypes were produced and production was approved in 1980. The infantry fighting vehicle was named after General Omar Bradley, a prominent US commander in World War II, famous for being picked by General Eisenhower to command the 1st US Army on D-Day, and was promoted to command of the US 12th Army Group, which was the largest field command in history. The XM2 infantry fighting vehicle and the XM3 cavalry fighting vehicle was renamed to the M2 Bradley and M3 Bradley. The purpose of these Bradleys is to safely transport infantry, provide fire support, and destroy enemy tanks and other vehicles. The M2 infantry and the M3 cavalry are very similar, however they have a few differences in what they carried on board. M2 was designed for transporting troops and protection with fire support. The M3 was more designed for reconnaissance. The main gun is the M242 25mm Bushmaster chain gun, which can equip armor-piercing or high-explosive rounds with a 200 rounds per minute rate of fire and a 2,000 meter range. There is also an M240 machine gun mounted. For anti-tank, there is a TOW anti-missile. These missiles use a massive shape-charge high-explosive warhead, which can reach 4 kilometers and can reach Mach 1 speeds. The Bradley uses a 600 horsepower diesel engine that can allow it to keep up with the Abrams tank. Modern Bradleys come with an inflatable pontoon which is continuously pressurized, allowing amphibious assaults. The tracks can be used to propel the Bradley forward in water. The M2 carries a crew of a commander, gunner and driver with a 6-man infantry compartment. The M3, instead of having a compartment for 6 infantry, it carries more ammo, TOWs, scouts, radios and javelin missiles. In 1985, testing was done on the M2 and M3 Bradley to increase its survivability. The Bradley needed to be tested using expected munitions from the US and Russian arsenal to make sure that there were no cracks in the design and armour. These tests showed vulnerabilities in the Bradley that was studied to make improvements. In 1988, modifications were made. New composite armour was used, improved ammunition storage, high water barrier skirts for amphibious missions and improved suspensions. With these new modifications, the Bradleys became the M2A2 and M3A2 Bradleys. After Operation Desert Storm in 1991, other improvements were made. GPS was added, anti-tank countermeasures, a new seating plan and more improved storage to protect the crew. This resulted in the M2A2 ODS and the M3A2 ODS models. Another set of improvements were made in 1994, which included a commander flat panel display unit, mass memory unit, driver display and squad display unit, upgrading to the M2A3 and M3A3 Bradley. A $390 million contract has been finalised to upgrade the Bradleys to M2A4, which involves enhanced mobility, defence technology and survivability. This comes after news of major Bradley losses in the Ukraine war in 2025, with issues to its ability to work in winter conditions. Approximately 4,500 Bradleys has been produced, costing around $2 million each, depending on the model. The Bradley has been deployed in the 1991 Gulf War, used against Iraqi armour, also used in the Iraq War in 2003 and in Afghanistan. Bradleys face resistance from RPG and IED fire, but were an integral part of the war. An example of their use was during the American Thunder runs into Baghdad, which was a massive armoured raid into the capital. This was spearheaded by 30 M1A1 Abrams and 15 M3A2 Bradleys, which passed along the west bank of the Tigris River to reach the heart of the capital. Only one Abrams was lost from RPG hit. A second Thunder run 2 days later succeeded in capturing the centre of the city, the Republican Palace complex, and Ba'ath Party headquarters. Another example of the usefulness of the Bradley was in the Second Battle of Fallujah in November and December of 2004. The cavalry variant fought with the Marine Corps Regimental Combat Team 1 in the west of the city, while the infantry version was in the east with Regimental Combat Team 7. Small groups drove through the city, suppressing insurgents. Many improvements were commended, having a great effect in the environment. The Bradley reactive armour tiles protected the crew from RPG fire. The fire from the 25mm Bushmaster cannon was said to be so intimidating that it would deter enemies from even attacking. Also, the most praised was the Bradley's acquisition subsystem and commander independent viewer, allowing the Bradley to stay completely sealed while deploying firepower. Some issues observed were the need for a stabilized machine gun for the commander to suppress all around the vehicle. There were also instances of the main gun getting damaged, so a shorter urban gun was requested. Because the crew could stay locked in the vehicle for a while, better air conditioning was also desired. Over time, the role of the Bradley had changed as the Iraqis learned how to counter. Instead of the strategy used at the beginning of the war, going street to street, many fire bases would be set up around a region where armoured patrols would be launched from. Going street to street in a city engaging at close quarters came to a stop as a result by 2007. Though commended for its lethality and survivability, the Bradley was removed from the front lines in 2007 due to how common IEDs were. In Iraq, 150 were destroyed mainly from IEDs. This triggered investment into mine-resistant ambush-protected armored personnel carriers, which are the heavily armored jeeps that we see in Battlefield 6. Battlefield 6 has done a great job in bringing the intimidating presence of the Bradley to life. Its detailed design and sound makes it a terrifying enemy to meet on the battlefield. The main gun can devastate enemies on the ground. Heavy machine gun can also lay down some impressive suppressing fire, and the tow missile can be absolutely deadly against other vehicles in the right hands. For the primary weapon, we can use high explosive shells, anti-personnel shells, or armor piercing shells. Our secondary gives us an option of aim guided tow, lock guided, and light rockets. For equipment 1, we can use smoke generators, thermal blocking, which destroys C4 and does damage to surroundings now, and emergency repair. Equipment 2 can use threat detection or counter fire radar, which spots sources of incoming damage. There is a few upgrades we can choose from. Mobile command, which increases rate of objective capture. Field maintenance gives better health regeneration. Targeting jammer slows lock on. Emergency counter, which increases rate of countermeasures. And systems upgrade, which makes cooldowns faster. For our gunner, we can have a heavy or light machine gun or a grenade launcher. The gunner also comes with smoke, mine countermeasures, or the target designator. In general, the Bradley can really make a dent in infantry and can work really well to clear out an area with better maneuverability than a tank. However, it really struggles against the tanks and can be destroyed quite quickly with RPG fire if not staying aware of your surroundings. With the recent patch, its anti-infantry capabilities has been improved, while its anti-vehicle capabilities has been nerfed. Movement has also been improved. The Bradley really sets the standard for an infantry fighting vehicle, capable of much more than transporting infantry. Its standard in lethality and survivability, with its intimidating presence, has made it one of the most iconic military vehicles. Hope you enjoyed this info video on the Bradley. Subscribe to not miss out on more of these videos in the future, and take it easy.